The very anticipated Green Lantern series by Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp came out recently, and it was well worth the wait. It was so different from the Green Lantern stories of recent years, and it moved away from the Lantern color spectrum wars and towards stories of exploration and police procedure. In fact, it seems almost completely different from the Green Lantern stories we've grown used to. In today's video, I'm going to figure out why that is and how this issue is the perfect representation of the latest era of comics called the Prismatic Age. Hope you guys stick around for the ride. My name is Heroic Ideas, also known as Giles, and let's get started. There are a lot of different eras in comic books, and it's tough to keep track of them all. The Golden Age was the first. It was kickstarted by the creation of Superman in the 1940s and was what started the modern idea of the American superhero. Heroes with bright colors and spectacular abilities were being made left and right, until the end of the World War when superheroes began their decline, until Marvel resurrected the medium with the conception of the Fantastic Four. This was the start of the Silver Age, an era of comics where storytelling became more three-dimensional and characters like Green Lantern were reinvented to fit the sci-fi fascination of the time. The Silver Age was brought to an abrupt end in the 80s with the release of Watchmen, which shook the industry and created a wave of darker stories in comics that tackled real-life issues. This Bronze Age of comics was throughout the late 80s and 90s. All these ages have affected the industry in many ways and have progressed comics to what they are today. People often wonder what age we're in now. Words like platinum and diamond have been thrown around, but honestly, there's no reason to call it that besides to keep the theme of eras named after gems. Others say we're still in the Bronze Age of comics, but I think we're past the grim days of the 90s. It's pretty hard to tell what age we're in when it's not over yet, but I think there's one theory about the current age of comics that sticks out. In 2008, a blog post by a site called Mindless Ones talked about the current age of comics. They introduced the idea of comic books today being part of a new era of which they called the Prismatic Age. The Prismatic Age is ultimately the idea that we're in a time of comics where characters are not completely changed but just seen in unique ways by different writers. Ages in the past created new characters that would ultimately change how we saw things, but this one is about using the same characters like Superman or Batman and reinterpreting them in different ways to fit the stories. I mean, look at the various universes in DC and Marvel. They usually have the same characters, but they're just reimagined with different origins or goals. At their core, they're still the same people. Owlman is still Bruce Wayne, but through a different lens to see him in a different way. In today's industry, there aren't as many new characters as there used to be. Instead, companies focus on the current iconic brands they have. Even legacy characters are just the same heroes but reinterpreted. Wally West was essentially still the Flash, but just a little different from Barry. Batman was kept around even after the death of Bruce Wayne, but under the mask was Dick Grayson instead. Wally and Dick are just used to find new ways to tell stories and themes with the Flash and Batman. And when a writer is done telling their story, they revert everything back to the status quo, so the next creator can tell their story in the way they want. New characters are not made to fit a story a creator wants to tell like in the past. Instead, current characters are just adjusted to fit whatever theme or genre the writer is trying to use for the story. The new Green Lantern story represents this new age of comics perfectly. Jeff Johns reinterpreted the Green Lantern universe in 2006 and changed how people saw the characters forever. Green Lantern comics were full of fantastical color corps and warrior-like battles for many years since then, until Grant Morrison came to the title and it almost seemed like the Green Lantern world was different. While some traits were consistent, like the world of Oa and the Power Rings, other traits weren't. Like Hal Jordan's personality isn't the complete same as Jeff Johns' version anymore. Grant Morrison has described his version of Hal Jordan like this. It's the same light fractured through the prism. We haven't changed the history of the character. We haven't rebooted. It's all there. But we're shining the spotlight on really different areas of it and trying to make it feel a bit odd. Grant's Hal Jordan isn't a completely different person, but certain aspects of him are being focused on more than others to fit Morrison's interpretation. This approach to storytelling is used by many writers in comics. I mean, look at Batman. Scott Snyder's Batman stories are completely different than the ones we're getting from Tom King. Tom's Batman seems moodier and more robotic than Scott's Batman, who would almost quip in the middle of fights. This age of comics renders characterization almost pointless because characters are being interpreted differently by various writers anytime they switch hands. This age isn't perfect though. The constant reinterpretation of characters can be exhausting to many fans and lead to continuity in comics being almost pointless because writers will do whatever they want. We almost never have any change in comics anymore because characters are always reverted to the status quo for the next writer. Development and innovative ideas are constantly thrown away by creators that want to write the classic versions of characters. This can make comics incredibly repetitive and boring to longtime readers. But as of right now, it's working. Green Lantern was a hit, and I'm sure every fan is excited to see what Grant Morrison does next with the character. This age of comics seems far from over, and who knows if that's a good or a bad thing. But as of right now, it's here to stay, and might as well enjoy it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment your thoughts below. I really want to hear what you guys think. Do you think we're in a prismatic age, or something else entirely? Anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with another comic fan. See you guys next time.